Okay, in this next section here, we'll be looking at solving problems, and you'll be using a calculator for these, so make sure you've got your calculator handy. Okay, now we looked at where we could use gradient in real life at the start, and we looked at slopes on roads, and we get a gradient warning sign to tell us that we have to be careful because it's either very steep going up the way or it's going to be very steep going down the way, and we don't want the car to run off. So we have another example of something that might happen in the real world. Okay, so Paul is having a wheelchair ramp fitted to allow access to his house. The gradient cannot be more than 0.3. Okay, that might be because it might be too difficult for him to push the wheelchair up a very steep gradient, and also safety. If he was to lose control, we don't want him going backwards too quickly either. Okay, so the first thing it says here is calculate the gradient. So again, I've already got my gradient formula written down there. So we have to do height 31, horizontal 150. Okay, now this is the first time where I've allowed you to use a calculator. So we're going to need the decimal this time so that we can answer part B. Okay, so this is me, I'm working on part A at the moment, but I know that when I come on to part B, I'm going to need the decimal. So 31 divided by 150. Okay, now it's just come up on my calculator, 31 over 150. Remember, look for the SD button on your calculator if you have a Casio. Okay, maybe you're lucky and your calculator's already given you the decimal, but I have to press the SD button and I see an answer of 0.206. Now another problem with the Casio, it's got a dot there. Okay, you need to be very, very careful and press the SD button again. Okay, so I've now got a screen full of numbers, which is much more like what I would expect. Oops, pop it back into the red one. There we go. Okay, and it looks like that. So, on to part B then. Does the ramp meet the safety standards? What was the safety standard? Where is it? The gradient cannot be more than 0.3. Okay, now this next bit can be a little bit worrying as a teacher when people think that 0.2 something is bigger than 0.3. Okay, so I'm just going to show you another way that I can write, another way that I can write 0.3 is with zeros after it, like that. Okay, so which number is the biggest? Okay, the gradient cannot be more than the 0.3. It can't be bigger than that green number that I've just written out there. Okay, so the 0.2 something is definitely smaller than the 0.3 something there. So what are we going to write? Yes, it meets the safety standard. .206, and there were lots of other numbers. I don't need to write them all. Notice I haven't rounded. Yes, it means it meets the safety standard. 0.206 is less than 0.3. Okay, so there you go. He can have his wheelchair ramp built with a height of 31 centimetres and a length of 150. So a nice real world one for you there. Okay, and here's another real life one here. It's about a ski slope that's being built. So for safety reasons this time, the gradient must be less than 0.7. Okay, so again, the first thing we're being asked to do here is to calculate gradient. Oops. Okay, so part A, we've got a height of 120. And we've got a horizontal of 185. Okay, now again, this is a calculator one because we have to change this into a decimal so that we can compare our answer with that 0.7. Okay, so grab your calculator, 120 divided by 185, and this comes out as, my calculator has just simplified the fraction for me, but we need the decimal. Now again, I've just had to use my SD button to get my decimal, and again it's done this thing with the dots on it. Okay, now we don't like that in maths. Press your SD button again, and you'll see that what's happening here is that the 684, 684 keeps repeating itself. Okay. Right, is that number less than 0.7? Just look at this bit, is it less than 0.7? It starts 0.6 something, so it is less than 0.7. Okay, so for part B, let's get back into red. For part B, will the slope pass the safety inspection? Yes, it will pass the safety inspection. .64, there's a lot of other things there. I don't need to write them all out. 0.64, notice haven't rounded either, is less than 0.7. Okay, so 2 or 3 important things there. Okay, we are writing a sentence, we have to answer the question. Will the slope pass the safety inspection? Yes. Okay, and then I'm making that into a sentence. It will pass the safety inspection. Okay, and then the last part to this one, give a reason for your answer. Okay, pick a different colour. Give a reason for your answer, and it's that bit there. So there's 3 little bits to making that sentence up correctly, so just watch out for that, okay?